Hello, my name is Carolyn Elliott. I'm the author of Existential Kink and Awaken Your Genius. And this channel is for women creators who are powerful and accomplished and who want to go deep with the work of individuation and magic and living from your inner authority. So, this series in particular is a journal. This is a video journal of a year of rigorously following the guidance from my own dreams. So, I've been doing dream work for years. I've been keeping a dream journal and reflecting on the meaning of my dreams. But it's really only been in, I'd say, the past 6 months that I felt like, wow, I have a hang of this to the point that I'm getting not just, well, I'm getting precognitions in my dreams, which has happened for years, but I'm getting precognitions and I'm getting really clear, hotter and warmer, hotter, hotter and colder signals from my soul in my nighttime dreams about the direction that I'm moving in my life surrounding various issues. And I'm finding that this is giving me an anchor in my inner authority, in my, uh, my own, the God within, the higher power within, the soul within. That's what I've always wanted. And it's a source of inner approval and inner strength that is, wow, just such a relief to have found after years of looking to all sorts of external sources of validation and societal conditioning and, the machinations of the mind to figure out what I should do. So I figured that it would be useful or interesting to the kind of women that I work with to record the process that I'm in and be very open and transparent about it. So basically, the process that I'm in, I would call it the masterwork of individuation, which Jung said that shadow work was the apprentice piece of individuation, and confrontation with the anima or the animus was the masterwork, the masterpiece of individuation, of truly becoming, coming to know oneself at both as an indivisible whole and also as a genuine individual distinct from family, society, collective conditioning. Uh, so this really kicked into high gear for me, I would say. Well, let's see. This is a great question. Um, in this past winter, so this past winter, I started getting uh, disturbing dreams that I later realized were precognitive, that my lover, my partner, was re-engaging in some old destructive behaviors. And like I said, these dreams were disturbing. I sort of wrote them off as kind of anxiety dreams. I didn't want to believe that they were precognitive dreams, but they turned out to be precognitive. And about 3 weeks ago, my partner got honest with me that he had indeed been going back secretly into these old destructive behaviors and lying to me about it. And this was massively painful for me to find out because our relationship up to that point had been just absolutely the best relationship I'd ever been in. We were really getting along beautifully, really having a wonderful time physically and intellectually and magically together. So it was really deeply, deeply heartbreaking for me to learn that this had been going on. And obviously, he had some pain and suffering that he was dealing with that was beyond, I couldn't make it better. I couldn't fix it. And at first, after he told me this, I was continuing to talk with him as usual. But then I had a nighttime dream that I was marrying my ex-husband again. And my ex-husband, who I just broke up with the past summer of 2026, I don't want to say anything negative about him per se, but our relationship was full of, at least I'll just say on my end, dependency patterns. So patterns of me being, whatever you want to call it, codependent, emotionally dependent, um, not really being able to stand up for myself and have boundaries and have clarity in the way that an adult needs to have. And, that relationship came to fruition, and I finally realized that the boundary that was necessary was the boundary of ending that marriage. So that's what we did. And, anyways, when I had this dream that I was going back into that marriage, I was like, oh my goodness, this is a clear sign from my soul, from my unconscious. The messages that we receive in our dreams every night are compensations for our conscious attitudes. They're like the soul is holding up a mirror and saying, what you're doing today is like this. This is what your consciousness is like. And so I felt that my soul was holding up a mirror to me and saying, hey, Carolyn, continuing to talk to your lover like usual when he's just told you that he's been lying to you for 6 weeks and, going back into old destructive patterns that you thought that he had grown out of. That's just like your marriage. That's like getting married to your ex again and going back into all of your uh, emotional dependency patterns. So I was like, oh no, 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 no. I know that I can't do that again. So I told my partner that I needed 30 days of no contact with him, um, in order to work on my own patterns and assess what's happening with my own psyche. And I'm very glad that I did that and created that container because what I discovered was that my dreams kept talking to me very clearly. Um, so after I made the decision not to talk to him for 30 days, I had a dream that I was planting a beautiful garden with these succulent kale rose. You know how kale can look like roses, these gorgeous succulent plants that were growing rapidly and beautifully in the sunshine. And it was just such a positive image, especially in contrast with the kind of nightmare that I'd had the previous night about marrying my ex again. Then I was stunned. I was like, wow, that's my soul very clearly saying to me, Carolyn, this is a fertile, growth-oriented direction, and holding up that mirror and giving me that image. Um, and so that happened, and the dialogue kept going on because I started to think about, okay, after these 30 days are up, what's, fantasizing about what could happen. And I, that night, I had a dream that I was texting with an old boyfriend of mine who was completely full of shit. And, the dream was basically saying to me, hey, Carolyn, thinking about just going back to how it was after 30 days is like, texting this old boyfriend of yours who was a complete, just complete fabulist and not really grounded in reality. And it's you not being really grounded in reality, thinking that, you can just resume after 30 days. So I started thinking more seriously about what it would take for me to really deeply do the healing work that I need to do and really shift the patterns that I have going on. Oh, well, actually, I'm skipping over some things. There was a lot in there. Like one night, I had a dream that I don't know if you've ever seen Twin Peaks, but maybe you remember Bobby and Leo from Twin Peaks. They're both kind of shifty, yucky characters in their own way. Bobby's a liar and Leo is a wife abuser. I had this David Lynch nightmare where I was basically like alternately being attacked by this Bobby, he was like alternately becoming Bobby, alternately becoming Leo, and being attacked by him and having to take care of this incapacitated uh, being. And in the show, Leo gets incapacitated at one point. And in the dream, I was also Laura from Twin Peaks, who famously is the homecoming queen who's murdered. And anyways, all of that really jives up with my experience, which is my father. Um, so anyways, what I'm trying to say, that Bobby Leo kind of demon David Lynch dream was a very intense Animus dream. And it made me realize, made me reckon with the fact, especially reflecting on being Laura in Twin Peaks in that dream. So Laura in Twin Peaks is literally, she's a girl who's abused, sexually assaulted by her father, and ultimately murdered by him. And ultimately, she's a teenage drug addict and has all sorts of problems. And then she gets murdered, and then Twin Peaks is about solving her murder. Um, I have a lot in common with Laura. I was sexually abused by my father. My father was incapacitated and brain damaged, and he literally was brain damaged and didn't have judgment or discernment, I guess, to know not to attack his daughter. And my father was also a very whimsical, creative, um, man interested in magic, interested in spirituality and art, and he would share that with me. But also, there was, like I said, this terrible abusive dimension to it, also. So, my pattern throughout my life has been to get together with men who are magical and brilliant and creative and also like something's off with them. They're usually addicts in some form or, otherwise emotionally unavailable. And like my father was a pornography addict. Um, so with that really intense animus stream, and by the way, the animus is the inner masculine of a woman, according to Jung. Men have animus, which is the inner feminine. Women have the animus. And Jung says that the animus is the spirit of truth in women. And in its higher, more positive dimensions, it's the logos. It's a woman's internal sense of meaning from her soul. And the animus figure is a figure who basically bridges the communications between the ego, the persona, and the deep unconscious, the self with a capital S. And also, the animus is made up of a lot of things, has to do with a woman's entire impressions and interactions with masculinity. So all sorts of culturally conditioned experiences of masculinity, her father, her boyfriends, brothers, teachers, mentors. It's sort of all weaving together in the animus. So the demonic David Lynch dream was a very clear, super negative animus dream. And I was very fortunate to have studied with my mentor, Dr. Robert D. McDonald, who was a pioneer of something called the destination method, which is um, basically a transpersonal way of working with inner representations of the mind and dream work and all sorts of uh, deep transformative work. So I was able to use some of the tools that Dr. Robert taught me to work on that uh, animus figure in the dream, which I knew represented um, this kind of deep pattern in me that I inherited from my father, as my mother has taken care of my father for like 40 years and financially supported him and everything. She's very codependent with him, enmeshed. Uh, that this same enmeshment, dependency, terrorizing pattern was operative in me. So I did a process called releasing emotional enmeshment on that animus character. Um, and the result was very powerful. The next night, I had a dream, and in the dream, rather than my ex-husband or this demonic, terrifying Animus character. I dreamt about my actual partner and his actual life issues at a human scale. And this was marvelous to me because it signaled that the releasing enmeshment with the demonic animus pattern had worked, and that I was now able to see my partner realistically as his human self with his human problems and not through this kind of confusing veil of um, the unconscious inheritance from my parents' relationship and from my father. So that was also very, very exciting to me and very, very rewarding for me to discover. And I came to the decision that I needed to have a year, 12 months with no dating, no romance, no focusing my life on that stuff because, I went right from my divorcing my husband into the relationship with my lover that had soured in the way that it had. And I just realized, like, whoa, Carolyn, we need to slow the F down here. We need to take some serious time. And so I made that decision. And the night that I made that decision, I had a dream that I was entering, reclaiming a gorgeous, giant ancestral castle with an archetypal king father figure and basically a chanting procession. And they were chanting this like beautiful fairy chant that I knew was like a chant of magical protection and revivification. And so I woke up from that dream and I was like, whew, holy moly, that was, again, a very strong, positive signal from my soul, from my unconscious, saying this is the correct direction. This is the direction of sovereignty. This is the direction of reclaiming who you are and your inheritance and your castle and your, inner divine selfhood. So that was really marvelous, and I feel like these dream messages are such a profound gift because my mind spins around and around, and my mind's like, oh well, surely I don't need a whole year. Like I miss my partner. I want maybe he's all better now. Maybe we could make this work out faster than that. Maybe blah, blah, blah. But whenever I think about that, I'm like, no, Carolyn, you know that the reclaimed ancestral castle happens. In response to that year of no dating, no romance. So, this whole process has been really, really interesting for me. Uh, my dreams have been interesting to me for a long time, but I feel like I've finally come into a season where, like I said, I can see this very direct night by night, um, my unconscious saying basically yay or nay to the choices that I'm making. And the way that the characters in my dreams are um, representing patterns of mine. And this is one of the reasons I find this so beautiful is that I think it really corresponds to the goal of the Western esoteric tradition of magic, which is knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel. That's what Aleister Crowley called it. And this, to me, feels like a very, very vivid form of that knowledge and conversation. And in fact, maybe I could go into detail. There were more dreams pertaining to the love situation, but recently last night, I was like, look, unconscious. All right, I know what you want me to do with my love life now. I need you to tell me what do you want me to do with my work life because I'm not sure what direction creatively to go into. I'm not sure where to invest my energy. Show me. And I had a dream that I was watching a beloved woman friend of mine who's an amazing mystic and an artist, and she was recording YouTube videos, and she was doing it with this attitude of really just experimenting, really, not trying to game the algorithm, not trying to become like the world's biggest YouTube content creator with the nicest, most edited videos, but really just, doing what I'm doing here, which is a humble little video journal, and that she was happy and she was having success. And so I woke up from that dream and I was like, okay, well, that's pretty clear. Like, I'm also a woman artist and a mystic. And I prayed for instructions about my work life and my creative life. And I saw a dear friend of mine making YouTube videos. I guess I'll start making these shoot from the hip YouTube videos, which I've been afraid to make for a long time. I'm a writer by nature, and the whole like video, mm, it's daunting for me, but here I am. And uh, I know that I know that there's many powerful, successful, creative women out there who are coming to a turning point in their lives where they are uh, very interested in tuning in to the deeper dimension of their soul. They're no longer satisfied with the way that things have been going. They're sensing some sort of misalignment, some sort of uncertainty. And so I hope that this story that I've just related can be helpful to you in thinking about your dreams as a potential source of very direct guidance, very direct inner confirmation. Um, and yes, if you're interested in doing more of this work, I have a membership called Babylon, which is a 12-month initial commitment, and then it's an ongoing membership where we do very deep dream work, and I give access to all of my acclaimed courses. Not all, I mean, most of them. Sorry, I should never say all because there's always things that I'm forgetting. But I think there's at least three of my courses that people love are in Babylon. We have an active Telegram community. We have coaching and dream work and live events and rituals, and it's really, really beautiful. So I'm going to put my contact information, I guess my website and stuff, in the little notes of the YouTube video. I also do private coaching. So if you're interested in private coaching, you can reach out to me about that. And yes, thank you for tuning in. I wish you all of the best with your own individuation process and magical development. And if you have specific questions for me that this video has stirred up, please do put them in the comments because I can answer them in future videos because I'm committing to doing this video journal series since my dreams told me to. So again, I'm on this year-long project of following the guidance in my nighttime dreams, and I will be informing you how that goes. Thank you. Bye-bye.